Hello everybody, welcome back to the stream. So today we're going to be working on some new features to make the map a little bit more interesting to work with, because right now it's relatively static. So I think I'm going to try to add some things to the map to make that less true. Mostly what I'm interested in is giving players some kind of ability to change the map or how the nodes work or what rewards the nodes have during the game, to add a little bit more, I guess, strategic variety to the game. So we're going to start that with a new node type, but I'll get into that in just a little bit. Before I do, I want to remind everyone that Alka Mortis is available for wishlisting on Steam. The Steam page is actually very out of date. I'm working with somebody currently to get a trailer up, and I'll be working with somebody also on getting the store page copy updated and whatnot. But you can go ahead and wishlist it, and also you can join the playtest. The public playtest is currently available and will be available through Friday. So you have basically all of this week to play it and to leave your feedback. You can join the Discord, which is also linked below, and leave your feedback in the Alka Mortis feedback channel. But yeah, just go down here to the Steam page, click request access, and that will give you instant access to the playtest for everyone. And of course, I also have the Patreon if you want to support the project financially. The top tier here has a couple of perks. One is that I will send you a key for the full game when it releases, so you'll get a Steam key when the game launches. So it's like a pre-purchase almost, or basically is a pre-purchase, I guess. And your name will be listed in the Alka Mortis credits. So I'll do a shout out for all the Patreon supporters in the in-game credits when the game launches. Patreon sponsors, I should say, because supporter is the other tier. So Patreon sponsors. And then also I've got my Udemy courses, which will teach you how to build complete games in the Godot engine. Check those out if you're interested in learning how to build games in Godot. That helps me a lot. And again, you can join the Discord that is linked below. All right, good morning, Emerson. Where is everyone? I don't know. I think it's Monday. I think Monday is a low energy day of the week. Low energy. So that's all right. Probably got a lot of people who are just chilling, tuning in. But we're going to go ahead and get started here. So yeah, in the interest of making the map a little bit more interesting, I want to do a new node type. And this type is going to be an obelisk. And the obelisk is going to allow you to change nodes within a radius in some way. So what I'm thinking is the obelisk could change some node types. It could buff some node types. So for instance, the kind of thing that I'm thinking is, excuse me. The kind of thing that I'm thinking is that it could, for example, make all of the booster options free within a certain radius, right? Or it could increase the amount of blood reward you get from combats. Or it could increase the number of reagents you get. Or it could outright change some nodes as well. So it could take maybe all of the cleared nodes in the radius become random nodes, so you could like regenerate the nodes that you've already cleared, stuff like that. And the idea is that this radius would be relatively large, so that when you hit an obelisk, it kind of changes every node within your immediate vicinity in some way. And I think it would be interesting if those obelisk effects could overlap. So if you imagine like a Venn diagram where you've got multiple overlapping circles, there could be nodes on the map that take on the effects of two different obelisks, right? So I think that'd be kind of cool. We're going to experiment with that. We're going to see what that looks like in practice. I was originally going to start with having like a mini boss node, but I think the big question here is that node alteration system or that node modification system going to be fun? And I don't want to go through the whole trouble of setting up like a mini boss event if that's not going to work, because I think the mini boss would do something similar, but we will see. Good morning, Ninja Link. So I'm the top fan. I'm a true fire beller, yeah. Just happen to have a work meeting that also starts at 10 a.m. today. Uh-oh, that's all right. Glad you popped in, Ninja Link. Finally got time to watch the stream. Awesome. Welcome, Sam Studio. Hello, Dominic. Played the playtest yesterday. Awesome. What'd you think? Did you leave your feedback in the Discord? All right, well, I guess let's just start with this obelisk stuff then. Hello, Neozoid. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. I have to do all this flavor text and stuff too. Okay. Let's get right into it then. So the first thing I need to do is let's set up a new event. Let's just duplicate this. Or no, do I want to duplicate it? Event type. We gotta do the obelisk in there. Let's build. Not yet, need more playtime. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool. Can't wait. I'm just waiting for that feedback to roll in. Yeah, I think the big thing now is just like trying to make the map a little bit more interesting so it's not so static. I'm probably going to rework how the notoriety penalties work after you clear a region as well. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff to figure out with respect to how the map works, but we will figure it out. We will figure it out. Hello, Rookie Tookie. Welcome, welcome. All right, so let's create a new resource. Event configuration resource, obelisk. Event type, obelisk. Obelisk. Icon. Let's copy this. Are these separate icons? Oh, yeah. I'm just going to draw something really basic. I'm not going to put a whole lot of time into this because, again, we're just trying to test it, really. Map icons. Actually, you know what I'll do is I'll just take this. I'll just use this as a placeholder here. Map icon obelisk. Cool. Ah, I changed the wrong thing. Obelisk. All right. So we've got that going. What else do I need to do? I need to create a state machine for it. Event type.obelisk. Obelisk. Okay. I gotta add a difficulty score in here as well. This might need to change, actually. Well, let's keep it low for now. Okay, alrighty. Shop events. I may want to add an obelisk in here. It's going to be a little bit weird, though. Valid event types. Put the obelisk in there. We got to create an event state machine now for this. So let's just copy this, create new file. Obelisk event state machine. Okay. We'll just keep that there for now. All right, in state utils here, we're going to do case event type dot obelisk. Event state machine equals new event state machine context. Break out of that. Cool, cool. So now we got to create something akin to like the shop container here for the obelisk. Yeah, we're just going to do something very basic here. Show in file system. Where is this? Oh, it's in shop. Okay. UI, we'll create a new folder in here. Create a new, well, I can just save this scene here. Create a new user interface node. Custom minimum size. Let's just do, I don't know, 196 by 196 now. Obelisk container. Here we go. Alrighty. Now we're gonna have to figure out what the heck to do with this. I think I might want a skip event in here, maybe. What's the new mechanic? So I'm gonna add an obelisk node type to the map. And what the obelisk is gonna do is it's gonna provide some kind of buff or change to all the nodes within a certain radius. So if you've played like Path of Exile, specifically Path of Exile 2, you can like find those towers where you can slot in those tablets that provide certain buffs or changes to the nodes in a certain radius. I'm going to basically do that for this game, except they're going to be not just like minor stat increases, they're going to actually change the nodes in some way. So yeah, we're going to see how this works. And yeah, well, I don't know. We'll just see. Playing around with this, trying to make the map a little bit more dynamic, a little bit more changeable. Oh, nice. You played Path of Exile 2? Oh man, that's my favorite game. Nice to recognize this feature in your game too. Yeah, I hope it works. We'll see. I'm kind of like, I've kind of been stuck on this because I think making the map more dynamic is very important for this game. I've just been stuck on like how to actually make that happen. People have suggested having like a wandering mini boss, which I may still do, but I don't know. Yeah, I think the problem is I just don't know how any individual option is going to work. So I think, unfortunately or fortunately, what I'm going to have to do is just build these systems, see how they work in game, and then either remove them or tweak them to make them work. But it's one of those situations where I don't really know how an individual solution to making the map more dynamic is going to work in the game or how it's going to feel. So I have to build it. I have to prototype it and see what it feels like, and then we will evaluate it from there. Hello, Nepal V, welcome back. And also, hello, Rin. I don't think I said hello to you. Welcome, welcome. Great to see everyone. So we've got this obelisk container now. We need to go to the obelisk event state machine. Let's add a script to this. Scripts. This is going to be super basic. I'm probably just going to use actual like... probably just going to do like buttons here. I'm not going to do any art for this yet. UI. Let's create a new folder. Obelisk. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to... What are we going to do? We're going to do this. Add a script here. Scriptus. Create game.ui.obelisk. We've got our obelisk container. This needs to change now to obelisk container. We'll get rid of this. We'll get rid of that. Oh yeah, okay. So now we need a game UI create shop container. I don't even know if this is useful here. I'll just follow this pattern, but Sharima, can you stop? Obelisk. What the heck, man? I can't type today. I basically don't ever get on my computer on Sundays because I've got other stuff going on usually that day. And the one day away from my computer, man, I can feel the rust build up. I can feel it. Okay, so we're going to do the create obelisk container there. We will worry about that later. This doesn't need to be here. State event purchase. Interstate cleanup. Don't I have a different... Hold on a second. Ah, son of a brisket. Yeah, simple state machine. 1 second here. Okay. Interstate cleanup. That will need to happen here for sure, but this needs to be obelisk container. Okay, so now I gotta go to my game UI. There's a lot of setup for this, oh my goodness. Obelisk container, put that over there. Okay. Alright, so now we've got the obelisk here. We're gonna need to load the obelisk options. Now here's the question. So there's a bunch of new things that are gonna happen here. So I need to be able to modify nodes. So let's do this. We're going to start with just one thing, and we're going to start maybe with the most complicated thing I can think of, which is we're going to add a button here. This button. Oh, wait, I wonder. Add child node button. Custom button, here we go. So I'm just going to put this here, write test in there. Okay, so what this is going to have to do is let's grab a reference to that button. Okay, we're going to do button.pressed equals on button pressed, private void on button pressed. This is where we're going to need to emit some changes. So let's do signal, public, delegate, void, button pressed, event handler. All of this is going to have to change, but we're just going to hard code something for now. So we're going to do emit signal button pressed there. In the obelisk event state machine, we're creating this obelisk container. Let's do obelisk container.button pressed plus equals on button pressed. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Enter state cleanup, finished, queue free. Okay, so in here now, what we're going to want to do is we're going to probably want apply change. Okay, so this is the part where it's going to be a little bit tricksy, because if I want to, for instance, have the obelisk change some nodes here, what am I going to have to do? So I need a couple pieces of information. I think I have inside of this event state machine context, I have the seeded run, which also I have a reference to the run map. The run map is essentially the tree structure, or the graph structure rather, of the whole map. So what I'm going to need to do is I need a method to get all the nodes in a pixel distance. So let's do this. Public public list run map node get nodes in pixel radius, run map node from node, float radius. Okay. We're going to have to do this. Return nodes.where node is not equal to from node and node.position.distance squared to. Now this radius calculation is actually not going to be correct because it's just going to be using the center of the node, but we don't need to worry about that yet. I'm going to do to add some kind of padding radius. Okay. That's what we need though. And then the obelisk state machine, we're going to say var nodes in pixel radius is equal to context.seededrun.runMap.get nodes in pixel radius. And we'll just do a constant in here, private const int radius, or maybe we'll call it pixel radius. Let's just do 256, might be too big, but we'll see. This doesn't need to be on a separate line. Get out of here. Okay, so we've got the nodes in that pixel radius. Now we need to change all those nodes. Game development is hard work. It is. It's very hard. I laugh at those who say game dev is going to be replaced with AI. Sometimes time away from the computer is needed. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's nice to have time away from the computer for sure, but also it's kind of not. Is the resource preloader a Godot plugin? No, it's a built-in Godot thing. I haven't really found any. I think the resource preloader is intended to be used for like heavier scenes that have a lot of like resources and sub-resources to load. Because what the resource preloader does is that you could put any resource in here up to and including packed scenes, and it will detect any sub-resources that need to be loaded as well, and it will load them in. I hope I didn't just make that up, but if we look at the resource preloader documentation, yeah, it's used to preload sub-resources inside a scene, so when the scene is loaded, all the resources are ready to use and retrieve from the preloader. So maybe it's not actually loading the resources within each of these packed scenes, but basically, these will be loaded when this game UI scene is loaded, and I'm mostly just using this as a dictionary. I'm mostly just, instead of putting like string references to the scene paths in my code, or using the UIDs in code, I just put them in the resource preloader, and then I fetch them by name. And I have an extension method in C# where I can take a resource preloader, I can say instance scene or null with the type name here, and it uses this as the name for the preload, the resource preloader lookup. So it will convert this grow board container to a name and then use that. Yeah, instance scene or null type of t.name. Anyway, I just never saw that preloader tab. Yeah. Can a game like Valheim be built in Godot? I don't know. I suspect it would be very hard to do that, but I'm sure it's possible. But I don't know for sure. I don't make 3D games, particularly not 3D games with massive generated open worlds. All right, so we have to call apply change here. Nodes in pixel radius. So now here's the question. How do I make a change on a run map node and propagate it such that the map actually changes as well? That is the question. I may actually be doing this on the wrong spot. Oh, the run map node. Oh, interesting. This is a ref counted. Okay. Let's do this. Public void change type. Event type new type. Node event type equals new type. We need to emit this signal here. Okay. Now where's that visited signal being listened to? Dot visited. Does this need to have the is visited here? I don't think so. I'm going to clean some of this up a little bit, but let me think about this for a second. I don't think this is necessary at all. This is visited. Yeah, this is no longer necessary. Is combat node. This isn't necessary either. Is highlight frozen. What? None of this is necessary. Okay, that's fine. Set map node, notoriety penalty added, notoriety penalty removed. Let's do this. Public void update map node, run map node, map node. Var resource is equal to event registry.from type. Map node.node event type. Resource.icon. Do I have a visited resource in here? Let's see. I don't. Do I? No, I don't. We're probably going to want to create a new visited type in here. So let's do this. Resource, event, configuration resource, visited. We're going to call this one visited. This is called cleared. The icon, map icon visited. Okay, that should work. We're going to call update map node here to map node there. Setup validity is visitable. Okay, we're going to have to figure some of this out here, but that's all right. On run map node visited. I don't think I need this visited signal anymore either. I really don't think I need that. node.visited. So this would be node.typeChanged plus equals onRunMap node type changed. Let's go down here. Map node update map node run map node. Okay. Now where is setup validity? Oh, that's fine. Okay. So maybe that will be a little bit cleaner. So now what I should be able to do is I should be able to do this. Going back to my obelisk event state machine, I should be able to take all these. I'm just going to do it very naively here for each of our node in nodes and pixel radius. We're going to say node.change type to event type dot booster. Okay, and then we should be able to see if this works. So I go to my project settings, debug, generate test map with test map node type of 13. So it's all obelisks. And we will see what happens. I've seen some pretty good tech demos for 3D recently in Godot. I think it may be possible, but IDK might have to supplement some system with Godot Rust or something. Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't know anything about it. But welcome, It's Bear. It's time for game dev once again. Welcome, Jackie Daytona. Hello, Chris. There's a guy making a game like Minecraft, but I don't remember the name. All right, gotta go. Wish you a nice day and can't wait to see this feature in action. All right, thanks for joining, Dominic. Appreciate it. Hope to see you in the future. There's a channel called Legion Games. Hello, Furcon. Welcome. Good to see you. All right, let's take a look. So if I visit this obelisk now, and I click the test button, look at that. So all of these nodes within this radius have become boosters. Now, we do have a problem where the tooltip is not working. We've got a bunch of errors, actually. Let's see. Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to need to work in my seeded run system now. Shoot. So it's not just as simple as changing the node type, because I have to generate the configurations for it as well. Sorry, my cats were cold. I had to bury them. So how am I going to do this? Okay, so it can't just be a direct change to this run map node type. Okay, so what I need to do is I think I need to go through the seeded run here to change it. I should create this on a new branch. Let's create a new branch for that. Okay. Just trying to think of what I want to do here. So the obelisk definitely needs its own configuration. So let's get that done first, I guess. So we've got our obelisk configuration here. We're going to store the RNG for now and do nothing else with it. Okay. Now in the seeded run, what I need to do is I need to do like a public method. I need to do something like public change node type and generate configs or something like that. And what I need to do is I need a reference to the run map node to change event type, new type. Okay. Public void. So there's going to be a lot of things to do, actually. So I'm going to need to do private void clear configurations for node. Private read-only dictionary run map node to obelisk configuration. I'm going to need to clear it out of here as well. Okay. So the first thing to do is to clear the configurations for that node that we're going to change. Then what we need to do is we need to do node to change type, new type. And I may simplify this a little bit. Well, maybe not. Do I need to do a giant switch statement? I'm going to need to do some refactoring here. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I do not want to delete my whole script. That's not what I want. Do I have to do it this way, really? That's all right, I suppose. This generate combat encounters here. Probably going to need to split this up a little bit. That's all right. Hello, V. Welcome back. We reflecting. I don't think so. Hello, Yun. Welcome back. Maybe I'll complicate things instead, yeah. Hello, Smashwall. I'm trying to find a cheap laptop for Unity, Godot 2D game development. Is it integrated card graphic enough for that matter? If CPU is decent as well as SSD drive, RAM memory? I think it largely depends on how far you're trying to go with. Well, if you're just doing 2D, then yeah, the integrated graphics should be more than enough. I don't think there are very few situations where a 2D game is going to cause severe performance problems to the point of needing a dedicated graphics card, at least in my experience. So yeah, integrated graphics should be totally fine. SSD is a given. I don't think you should be buying hard drives in 2025 and 2026 unless you're doing like long-term storage, like a NAS or something. But yeah, if you're doing like a computer for work, it needs to have an SSD. I don't even know if they sell non-SSD laptops anymore. And then yeah, memory. Yeah, you want to have enough memory for sure. I think 32 gigabytes is becoming really common, but you could probably get away with 16, especially for Godot. Godot's not very memory intensive at all. So yeah, just get a decent size SSD, 16 gigs or more of RAM, and the integrated graphics should be plenty for 2D development. IDK, if they do sell non-SSD laptops, yeah, I'd be surprised if they do. They sell desktops with them for extra memory. Yeah, I wouldn't even get it for a desktop, honestly. Like, SSDs are so cheap, unless you're talking like terabytes and terabytes and terabytes of data. But even then, I would say, you know, get a NAS at that point, you know. If you're looking for terabytes of long-term storage, might as well go for an actual storage solution rather than just slapping it all on drives in your PC. That's my opinion, though. That's my opinion. To each their own. Okay. I need to break this up. Son of a biscuit. So I'm going to need to break these up like this, I think, and then grab this and put this in here. Thanks a lot. Yeah, this laptop has 1 terabyte SSD, 32 gigs of RAM, and an i7 CPU. Looks good even for Unity. I'm not familiar enough with Unity, but again, I feel like the CPU should be enough to run the editor. The question is it going to be enough for the integrated graphics for rendering 2D games? If you're going into 3D, then that's when you're probably going to have more noticeable problems with the integrated graphics. But even then, like, integrated graphics is good enough where if a 3D game is not really that demanding, then you can run it just fine on integrated graphics. Think like low poly with like very flat shading and like no lighting, basically. Hello, Blair William. Welcome back. I tried Judy. Oh, I forgot this part. I tried GDScript. Looks cool, but missing type C#. Yeah. Yeah, I do like C# for sure. Okay, so now I've split out, for example, this generate combat encounters. This will be called at the beginning, be called here when generate is called. And that's going to call this function for every combat node with the node and RNG. But the reason I needed to split this out now is because when I go to change the node type here, now I do generate combat encounter, and I need to pass in, I probably need to pass in an RNG in here too. So this would be the node to change and the RNG passing in there. And I need to do the same for all these things now. So we're going to take this. Private void generate shop inventory. Okay. Then we'll fix it up here. I'd do the same for artifacts, enchant, booster, reagent. Oh, did I forget to fill this out? I did. Okay. We'll just do all these. Generate enchant. Node to change RNG. Generate booster. Generate reagent. Okay. This is where Copilot comes in very handy. I'm going to need to generate the wanted level as well. Do I want to do that? Maybe I'll worry about that in a second. I don't know about this one. Might keep the wanted level the same when the node type changes. The problem is for the visited node, let's see. There's going to be a lot to check here. Maybe it's fine. I don't know. We'll figure it out. GDScript is basically Python. It's very similar, yeah. I didn't like Python before I started with Godot. I still use semicolons in my code. It's hard to let go, yeah. Okay. All right, so we've got all that working. Now what I need to do is I need to do this. Very code heavy today. All right. I might as well just put this here as well. All right, so change node type and generate configurations. All right, so why did I do all that? Because now what I need to do is in my obelisk event state machine, instead of, well, one second here. I need to add this. Get obelisk configuration for node. Okay. So in my obelisk state machine, where is that? I don't want to target the node directly. I want to do context.seededRun.change node type and generate configurations with node. And then we need the new type booster. And then what we need to do is we need to do what? We need to grab that RNG. Okay. Now we pass in that context. No, not that. We want the obelisk configuration. Let's make this public. Okay. Obelisk configuration.rng. Is that going to work? I don't know. Let's figure it out. Did you get a lot of good data from your recent playtest or feedback? I mean, yeah, so far, yeah, the playtest is still running, so it's public for everyone now. So if you want to play it, definitely give it a shot. But, yeah, still waiting for more to roll in. I've also been reaching out to individual other people to hopefully get some feedback. There we go. So syringe, ceremonial dagger, syringe. Okay. So now I have to make sure that that seeded stuff works. So the whole reason I did all this hullabaloo was to make sure that the seeded run is preserved here. So the idea is that if you go to an obelisk, it should change the same nodes for that run, and it should change them such that they have the same configurations. So if I run back that that seed and I go to test again, and I go to this booster here, what I should see is syringe, ceremonial dagger, and syringe again. Yeah, look at that. So we want the seeded run to preserve as much as possible between runs. So that was the whole reason. So, and the way that I'm managing this is basically there's a bunch of things that can happen throughout the game that could mess up the seed. So like, I can't just use the same exact random number generator instance for the whole game, because then it becomes order dependent, right? If I am generating, like, let's say the obelisks, right? If I have multiple obelisks on the map and they're all changing the map in some way, if I visit one obelisk first versus another one, that's going to produce one result, and then vice versa, right? So it becomes order dependent because of the way that the random number generator works. So the way that I fix that problem is I create a random number generator class that is specific to that obelisk, right? So that's the whole point of this obelisk configuration, is I actually create a new RNG object that it uses internally for its own operations. And when I go into my run map, or my seeded run here, and I generate those obelisks here, what happens is I use the overall RNG object, which is present in this seeded run class here. I use that to create a new random number generator with a seed that is the result of the overall random number generator result of rand I. So I'm basically just randomizing the seed of this new random number generator. But the thing is, if I'm using the same overall seed, this new random number generator is going to be seeded with the same value every time for that seed. But since this is its own class now inside of the obelisk, nothing else in the game is going to act on it. This RNG is never going to change until this obelisk actually does its operations. So that's how I'm guaranteeing that all these different operations that can happen are sort of order independent. And it's pretty clean, pretty nice, but I do have to do a lot of setup to get that data flowing to all the places it needs to be. But now I have the ability to have an obelisk change nodes on the map, which is good. I'm trying to think of what the next step would be. So obviously I don't want to just change them all to boosters. That radius is probably too big as well. Could probably do a little bit less of a radius. Oh, Pog, will do. Thank you. How hard is it to reach out to big streamers? It's not hard to reach out. The hard part is getting them to play the game. That's the hard part. But reaching out to them is just a matter of like, you go on YouTube and you just search for games that are sort of in your niche, right? So when I was doing outreach for Gunforged, I was just looking at 2D action roguelite, you know, gameplay and review, or 2D action roguelite first impressions, or you know, I would look at specific games, right? I would look at people that played like Nimrods, right? Which is a game that was kind of similar to Gunforged. And I just found all the channels that were playing similar games. And usually those channels will have their contact information on YouTube. And if they don't have their contact information on YouTube, then what I would go is I would go to other social media like X or Blue Sky or whatever and see if they had their contact information listed there. And there was only a handful of like particularly smaller channels where I couldn't find any contact information for them, but typically it's pretty easy. And then what I do is I actually just handwrite all the emails. I have like a template that I have where, you know, it tells about the game. Here's the release date of the game. Here's the Steam page. Here's the press kit or whatever. But I would always like personalize it a little bit. So I would say something like, hey, I noticed that you played Nimrods. Gunforge is kind of similar in this kind of way, so you might enjoy it. I hope you show it to your audience. Here's a Steam key, yada yada. And that worked pretty good. Maybe Shroud will playtest, yeah. That'd be epic if Shroud playtests it. Although I just said Shroud because I'm watching a lot of Arc Raiders. Yeah, Arc Raiders is awesome. Yeah, we'll see. I have to work through all that, but the game is still in development. I'm kind of just focused on getting the game into a good spot before I do all the marketing outreach. If I have to, if the game is complete but my marketing hasn't done very well, I probably will just hold on to the game and not release it until the marketing starts paying off. So I could have the game finished by Q1 of next year, but if my wish lists aren't where I want them to be, or there's not a lot of traction for the game, then I will probably just sit on the game until I can get that traction. We'll see. Wait, what are obelisks? So obelisks are a new node type that are going to allow you to change some properties of nearby nodes. So right now, just as a test, I'm having the obelisks change all of the nodes within a certain radius to boosters. But they're going to be able to do other things too, like add extra rewards to combat nodes, right? Or you know, make boosters free, or, you know, just anything really. That should also reset visited nodes, I think. Yeah, I think it does. Hold on, I'm just trying stuff. Let's say you have some amount of knowledge in GD, C#, and C++ Rust. Which you'd prefer to make your game in Godot? C# for sure, yeah. C++ and Rust are like two, I don't know if the word low level is correct, but they're not as approachable as C#, I would say. But C# is a good middle ground between like an interpreted language and a super technical compiled one. This should change that visited node back to... Yeah, look at that. Very cool. The game is called Tenkimo. Okay, cool. All right, so now the question is, well, we got to get the booster or the obelisk actually doing interesting stuff now. So we got to think of more modifiers for the way that obelisk can work. I'm just trying to think of like how I want to do this from a technical standpoint. So yeah, like increasing the rewards of combat nodes in the area. Man, I had a whole bunch of good ideas. Now I'm blanking. Did I write any of them down? Change node types, buff node tiers, increase node rewards. Okay. Hello, Hylaw. Literally just got in, you thinking of PoE 2 towers. Yeah, basically. Yeah. That's basically what this system is going to be. Why is all this open? So I think we'll just start working on the technicals for that to get the obelisk actually generating or changing the... Yeah, change the nodes in interesting ways. We'll see. Okay, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we will just keep on building the obelisk. The next step is to, give the obelisk multiple options here, and then make those options actually work. We're also going to want to do a bunch of visuals for it. We're probably not going to get to the visuals in this stream, though. Just got to get the actual mechanics working. But anyway, I will be right back in just 3 minutes, and we will continue on. Hello, I'm back. All right. It is time to figure out what we should do with this obelisk. So there's a bunch of questions about this. Should there be different... Well, there should be different options about how you want to change the area. But should they have a blood cost? I mean, they probably should, right? They probably should have a blood cost. Now, there's going to be another complication here, which is that the player is probably going to want to be able to bring up the map before they make an obelisk choice. So that's going to have to be added. Yeah. Okay. So probably just going to take the same approach that I've taken for other things. You know, you've got a free option, a medium cost option, and a high cost option. Our favorite niche micro e-celeb is back. Don't you forget it. Don't you forget it. All right, let's do this then. Let's start with some, because there's gonna be some other things to do here as well. I need to keep track of what obelisk features are enabled for which nodes. Should I put that in the seeded run? Am I storing configuration here? Not really. I don't know how to set this up from a technical standpoint. So I'm going to have an obelisk that could potentially change how certain nodes behave. Hi, if I want to make an RPG action 3D game with a lot of mechanics, what should I choose, Godot or Unity? I don't know how to answer that question. I'm sorry. My recommendation to you would be to try both, do a prototype in both engines and see which one suits your needs better. But yeah, I think that's a question you'll have to answer for yourself through some experimentation and research. Maybe the nodes affected by the obelisk should have sparks or something already visible on the map before going to the obelisk. That way the player can already see from afar if the obelisk is worth taking the detour. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a little radius indicator when you hover over the obelisk to show which nodes will be affected. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a thing. So here are some obelisk effects that I'm thinking of. So it would change, for example, if you go to the obelisk, one of the options could be change 2 nodes within the radius to combat nodes and increase the rewards of all combat nodes in the radius by like 5 blood or something. Another obelisk effect that I'm thinking of doing is, you know, change X number of nodes in the area to booster nodes, and also boosters will have a chance to drop enemy faction cards instead of player cards. What else? Yeah, so changing node types, modifying how node types work. Yeah, there just could be all kinds of variations. Reagent cards, like I could have a reagent, right? Changes one node in the region to a reagent, and the reagent is guaranteed to drop, you know, this type of reagent, or it drops only this type of reagent. That could be an interesting one as well. So there's a couple of weird things going on. So I have the node type changing working, but then I could have additional effects that change how the node actually works. And I'm going to need a system for basically determining which obelisk effects a node is currently under, and then modifying that node's behavior in conjunction with that. So the easy one to start would be the combat one, I think. Let me think about this. I think the combat one would be the easiest, like, pilot case here, because I can change a certain number of node types into combat nodes. But then if I want to increase the rewards of all combat nodes in the radius, I'm going to need to keep track of that. What about a catapult node that throws you to a new higher position on the map? Yeah, that could work. That could work for sure. That would definitely be interesting. Let's start with combat here. I think I probably need another manager here. Let me think. Actually, I do need that. Game.manager. Add to group here. What else? Get map node effects manager. Do I not have a combat event state machine? State utils. I don't have a combat event state machine. I don't know why I don't have that. Just trying to think of how I want to set this up. I don't know. What about a catapult? Oh, I already read that. Is the game going to have any focus on lore story or just enough to facilitate the gameplay? I do want to do some kind of story, some kind of coherent story, but I'm just not at that point. I mean, I've been doing kind of like world building through the flavor text and stuff, but it would be nice to include some more story somehow. Maybe I'll just do this map node effect. New file, base map node effect. We'll just do something like this. Map node effects manager. So what I'm gonna need probably is I need public dictionary run map node list base map node effect. Map nodes to effects. No, I don't want this to be public actually. Okay. We're gonna do public void apply map node effect. Run map node. If not map nodes to effect, try get value, out value. Value is equal to this. Oh yeah, that's fine. Okay. So we're gonna apply a list of node effects to a node. So then what this would do is, let's just create, I'm just stubbing this out here. If I do combat currency reward map node effect, oh my gosh. That's fine. It's okay if the name is long. Combat currency reward map node effect. That's fine, we'll just leave that there. So now what? I mean, I could just do something like public int modify combat currency reward. If there's no value for that combat, we'll just return the base amount. Effect and effects. Something like that would work. The other thing that I could do is I could just make that a I can make this an abstract or a public virtual int modify combat currency reward. And then what I can do in here is do public override modify combat currency reward. For each of our effects and effect, we do modified amount is equal to effect.modify combat currency reward. Something like that. I don't know. This is going to have to take more shape as I add more effects, but I think that's a good first step. Now, if we go to my obelisk event state machine here, what I'm going to need to do in here is we need some kind of like obelisk definition or obelisk. Where's my obelisk configuration? I may just do this public class obelisk option. let's do, I don't know, public event type, change to event type. Public required int amount to change. Public required map node effect. Let's do base map node effect. Map node effect. Get init. So what I'm going to do here then is I'm going to do public obelisk option. Options get init. And we're just going to do this. New obelisk option. Event type dot combat. Amount to change 3. Something like that. So we're just going to hard code that for now. That's going to have to be generated, but I think that's good for now. So now when we actually apply the obelisk in the inside of this obelisk event state machine here, I'm just going to grab this obelisk configuration nodes and pixel radius here. And what we're going to do is we're going to say var chosen option is equal to obelisk configuration dot options 0. It's just hard coded, so it's fine. So we're going to probably want to randomize this as well. So nodes and pixel radius. Here's our chosen option. We're going to say var nodes to change is equal to nodes in pixel radius dot order by. We're going to do obelisk configuration to rng.rand f dot take chosen option amount to change dot to list. Okay, so for each var node in nodes to change, we are going to do change node type and generate configurations. And then we're also going to do context dot I'm going to do something else here. Let's pass in the scene tree. Actually, let's do this. Public required node scene tree root. So we'll go to our run manager here. Change that. Scene tree root is equal to get tree.root. That is a window, which is fine. I guess I could just make it a window. Why not? So now what I should be able to do is inside of this obelisk event state machine here, we're going to do context.sceneTreeRoot.get map node effects manager. Map node effects manager.apply map node effect to the node. Oh wait, we need to do this for all of them. So let's do this now. So it's going to change only limited set of nodes, and then it's going to do for each var node in nodes in pixel radius. We don't need to get this every time. Map node effects manager apply map node effect node chosen option dot map node effect. Okay. I have no idea if that's going to work, but we're going to have to give this a real test now. Run map generator. I'm just going to copy this for now. This is obelisk. Just copy that tier config, that's fine. We need to add this to the event loot table, so I'm actually going to beef this up a little bit. Add item event type.obelisk 100. Just make obelisks a little bit more common. But let's see if this works. Generate test map off. We'll see what happens. Can I ask you why you use C# instead of GDScript? Hello, Marcos. Just personal preference. My mic is a bit strange. Is that true? Is there something wrong with it? Does it sound normal to everyone or no? Hello, Ariane, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so there's one here. So let's just see if I can do this. We'll just skip this. Go here. I'm doing your Udemy multiplayer course. Really great so far. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you for purchasing that, and thank you for taking that course. Helps me out a lot. Audio is normal to me. Mic sounds fine to me. Okay. Sorry to say it might be on your end then, Ariane. Okay. Oh, I need to add some extra filtering to this too. I forgot. Where x dot node event type is not equal to chosen option dot change to event type. So, okay, so what I'm expecting to see now is, so these have 5, 4, 4, and 5. So these two are 5 and these two are 4. Some of these should change into combat nodes. Oh, it didn't work. Oh, I know why it didn't work. Very cool, very cool, very tight, very tight. I forgot to add the manager to my run manager. Okay, let's try it again. Yeah, you're right. I refreshed the page and it's fine. Okay, good, good. All right, let's try this. So go to the obelisk. Oh, I forgot to check, but that's all right. So I test this. I don't know which nodes that may have changed, but that's all right. So what did I set the combat reward to? 5. So I should be getting 5 additional blood. So in this case, I should get 11 blood. So I should end up with 16 after I fight this villager here. Oh, and that's not actually going to work because I never called the code for that. That's all right. We'll figure it out. Modified currency is equal to... Might as well just make this static, I suppose. Not is instance valid instance. Okay. Modified currency is equal to map node effects manager dot modify combat currency reward. Okay. Now we should be able to try that. Okay, Friar, Sage. Well, I need to get here first. So I've got 5 blood there. $10 blood. This is 5, this is 5, that's 4. So if I do this, I click test. That changed this back into a combat configuration here. So I should be getting 11 from this now. If I fight this again, and it didn't work. Do I need this? I have this visited hash set in here that I think is not necessary anymore. I hope this doesn't break anything. I'm sure this is going to break something, but let's see. Hello, Clickertail. Welcome, welcome. Good to see you. All right, let me just try this real quick. I don't really need to be maintaining a hash set of visited nodes now. So if I go here, shouldn't do anything. I should go back here. Okay, awesome. So now let's go here. So that's 6. I'm going to click this test button, test. Okay, 4. So if I fight this now with my Skeletrons, I should see 9 blood as a result. There we go, 9 blood. So obviously I need to update the tooltips for that, but so yeah, we have the ability of the obelisk now to modify nodes in the area. And obviously I'm going to need some kind of indicator here to show the radius that it affects, but I also probably want to do a little bit of an animation to show which nodes are changing into combat nodes when I visit that, but that is working. And so I should be able to get 11 from this one now. So I should end up with 20 after I beat this. Yeah, cool. All right, so that's a very quick proof of concept of how the obelisks will work. I'm going to need to also add a lot more obelisk options and change how things work based on that. But I don't know. How are we feeling about it? Haven't got to watch one of your live streams in a few months. Progress looks great. Thank you, Jesse. So let me ask everyone, how are we feeling about the obelisk so far? Like, is it moving in the right direction? And to recap for anyone that just got here, anyone who's not following totally, an obelisk is basically, it's a node that you can visit, and it will give you some options, and the options will change nodes within a certain radius. So what I've just done as an example is when I click on the button after visiting an obelisk, it will change a handful of nodes within the radius to combat nodes, and then every combat node that's in the radius, even the ones that were unchanged, will have an additional 5 blood reward for fighting it. And so that's just like kind of an example of what could happen. Other options would be like change some nodes into booster nodes and make the boosters able to offer enemy faction cards, which you can't typically acquire, right? Another one could be, adds a board increase node, or adds an enchant node, or the next enchant node can be used twice. You know what I mean? So anyway, any thoughts on the obelisk? Like, is this going to be a net positive for the game, do you think? Is this going to add more? I guess what I'm looking for is like strategic depth to the game. I think where the obelisk can be really powerful is, number one, if you can stack them, right? If you can visit multiple obelisks and have both obelisks affecting a large portion of the same nodes, so you've got like hyper juiced nodes that you can visit. And the other thing is that having a little bit more control over your pathing, right? So let's say that you end up going along a path where you're not really finding any of the things that you want, right? Maybe you're looking for a booster node and you haven't come across one. Then you visit the obelisk and it's like, oh, I can change 2 or 3 nodes in the radius to boosters, and now I can replenish my stockpiles, right? So I think that's where the obelisk is going to be very powerful, is when you can stack them and when you can control your pathing a little bit more. The other thing that obelisks do is that they replenish cleared nodes. So these cleared nodes can be changed back into useful nodes by the obelisk. So anyway, any thoughts on it? Does it make combat zones that were already there more difficult since you get more blood from it? No, it does not. Hard to say without playing and seeing how it feels. Yeah, I agree. I'm just wondering if anyone has any thoughts on if that's like directionally sounds good or not. I'm not looking for feedback on whether like the implementation is going to be good, just looking for if people think that's going to be interesting or not, you know. That doesn't look right. I like the idea, more decision making to the player. What is the risk versus reward of using one? Well, the risk is that it could change a node that you want to visit into a node that you don't want to visit, right? So let's say that there's a grow board node that's going to increase the size of your board, but it's within the radius of an obelisk, and then the obelisk decides to randomly change that one into like a booster instead, right? I guess I don't know how to draw an obelisk. Interesting. Well, I'm gonna have to figure that out later. Thought it would be easy. It's not. So yeah, we'll play around with that some more. We'll get more stuff in the obelisk for sure. Yeah, I'm just not sure. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play with it for sure. I'm just trying to add. I guess the goal for the next phase of Alchemor's development is trying to add more. Trying to add more dynamism to the map, because the map is relatively, or it's like totally static right now. Once the map is generated, it can't change. And so I just want to add more ways in which the run can change over time. So if anyone else has any ideas of how to accomplish that goal, right? The goal of making the map more dynamic, make it change more, adding more strategic decision making to the map itself beyond just choosing your path. That's basically what I'm trying to do. And an obelisk is going to be part of that, I think, but there are other things that I'm thinking about doing too. Like having a, eyeball floating around the map or something that's increasing the notoriety penalty of various node types and so on and so forth. Or you're trying to draw an obelisk. Is there any way... So is there a way that if it was the case that the player could just visit the parts they don't want to change by using it, and then the obelisk negating the downside of it? Yes, but then the downside there is that you have to spend more of your traversal points, right? So again, once you get to that score of 100, you get thrown into the boss fight. So if you want to take a circuitous route around an obelisk before you visit it, you're going to incur more of that penalty. Maybe like map nodes getting corrupted after a certain number of turns or something. Yeah, so I was thinking about doing that. So that kind of goes back to the notoriety penalty. Right now, what happens if you fight the boss for a region, what happens is that the notoriety penalty goes up. Like it gets infected with these like little eyeball things that just basically double the notoriety penalty. But I was thinking about, as you're moving around, spawning little eyeballs that corrupt or increase the notoriety penalty of certain regions of the map. And then maybe they can move around too. So maybe they hover in a spot for a few turns and then they move somewhere else. I think that could be interesting too, because then it's like, it's not just a matter of what nodes do I want to visit, it's can I visit this node before the eyeball floats over here? You know what I mean? How big should the obelisk be? It doesn't matter. 24 by 24, I think, is the size that I'm using. Oh, it's 30 by 30. That sounds sick. That definitely makes it more dynamic and less predictable. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do something to that effect. So obelisks and those floating notoriety eyeballs, and then I also want to do a mini boss. Now, I don't know if I want the mini boss to also roam around the map, or if that would be too many roaming things on the map, or maybe the mini boss and the notoriety increase eyeball are the same thing, and so the boss is like roaming around the map, creating increased notoriety penalties in its immediate vicinity until you beat it, something like that. Could have positive roaming things too. Yeah, that's true for sure. Yeah, lots of stuff to think about. This is going to be the next major effort of the game, is just figuring out the whole map overworld experience. And it's going to be a lot of experimentation, I'm sure. Create more of a risk-reward scenario. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point for sure. Maybe having some kind of side quest nodes that take you around, some special reward at the end of them. That's an interesting idea too, yeah. And you know what? A lot of what I'm feeling about the map being static may be fixed too by just adding a larger library of event types. Like I want to do an event type where you can copy a node exactly. I want to do an event type where you can choose an enemy faction card, for instance. An event type where maybe you can stash a card And then if you visit a node of that type later, it's been upgraded in a certain number of ways. So that will help too, just adding more variety to the types of events that are on the map. But I definitely think that like the moment-to-moment decision-making of navigating around the map should be a little bit more interesting than just deciding, do I want to go to this node or that node? It should be, do I go to this node and incur this penalty, or do I hit the obelisk first and the chance that it changes into a node type that I need, or, you know, that kind of stuff. Do I go and fight the mini boss and get a massive reward, even though that's going to increase my notoriety level quite substantially? Stuff like that, but we'll see. Also, hello to you, the Sky One. All right, well, that's going to be it for the stream. I've got a meeting to go to in 15 minutes here, so I'm going to go get ready for that. So yeah, big stuff, big stuff. There's a lot to do with this game still. It's not even close to done. Oh goodness. We're gonna turn off the stream before the existential dread kicks in. I'm just kidding. I love working on this game. It's just gonna be a lot of work from here on out still. But it's getting there, one step at a time. Anyway, start on map node effects. But yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Yeah, sorry about that. It's the Sky One, but I'll be back at it tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. So I hope to see you there. I hope to see you there. I feel like my voice is starting to go for some reason. So we'll see. But yeah, hopefully I'll be streaming tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thanks again for your support, everybody. And again, as a reminder, the most important thing you can do right now to help me out is go play the Alchemortis playtest. You can access it from the Alchemortis Steam page, which is linked in the description below. Just click the request access button here. Give the game a couple plays or one play. Play it however much you want or how little you want. And give me your feedback in the Discord at Alchemortis, in the Alchemortis feedback channel. That is the most important thing that you can do right now if you want to support the game. So I'd appreciate it if you would do that. And yeah, again, I'll see you tomorrow. And I hope you all have a good day. All right, bye-bye.